Right, hi, this is our first lesson. I'll just do a little pre-recorded video while I'm working out how to record straight from the lesson. But right, this first lesson, what I thought we'd focus on is, I know you think we've done a lot of it, but it's still not mastered, is the criteria B question. So what we're going to have a little focus of today is we're going to touch slightly on doing the whole question, even justify, but we're going to focus mainly on the skills needed rather than trying it with like difficult sequences. Okay, so if you are joining the session, if you are watching this video after the session's actually happened, this is the do now task. So there's 3 questions, so if you want to pause the video and give it a go, please do. But I'll go ahead and answer them anyway. So the first question says, can you just do the first 3 terms? So all of this is on assess prep. Okay, so this task is on assess prep that you'll have to put in. So the next 3 terms just means what are the next 3 numbers that come. So if you look, they are adding 8 each time. So your first one, let me zoom in slightly, is 34. The second one should be 42 and the last one should be 50. For silver, it says, can you find the nth term? So first thing we should do is find the difference. So it's plus 5 each time, which means 5n is the rule. However, if you wrote your 5 times tables above, you should notice that your sequence is actually 1 less than this, so it subtract 1. Some people like going the opposite way and doing the opposite of what the difference is. That will also get you the constant, but that's the nth term. And then the last one for gold says, can we find the 41st term? So the first thing we have to do is find the nth term. So in this question, it looks like, what do we have? Plus 8, plus 8, plus 8. So it's 8n. So if you write the 8 times table above, you should know that it is going to be actually minus 1. So that's the rule. So then, if you want to work out the 41st term, you have to then substitute 41 into that formula, which is going to give you 327. Okay, so if you continue the sequence on, the 41st number is going to be 327. Okay, right, then in this lesson, we're going to just have a little continue. So these are the answers. There's more answers than questions. So if you edit the PowerPoint, there's questions that I've cropped out underneath. But things that we need to know. Okay, so for this last question, there's a couple of words that we see. The first one is describe. So usually it will ask you to describe the pattern. So what does it mean? So for example, increase by 3 each time. It's usually worth about 1 to 2 marks. They will always ask you to predict. So it's usually in a table, most likely in a table, and they will just say, okay, what are the next numbers? Usually 4, 5 and 6, again between 1 and 2 marks. Then it usually says find and state the rule. So it's usually looking for the nth term, whether that's an arithmetic sequence or a quadratic. It can be anywhere between 2 to 4. Right, verify, let's not forget verify. Verify are the numbers that you had to predict later, okay? So 5 and 6, not the first 4, the ones that you had to predict. And then when we have to justify something, you're explaining why the formula works that you got. And we're going to have a little look at this today. This at the bottom's a nice little tip. Try and aim for the minute a mark. It is about 72 seconds per mark, but let's just keep that as a goal. Right, so these are just common mistakes to avoid, okay? So verifying with the values already in the table. This I see a lot, okay? When you're given a description, it goes up, very vague. You need to have to tell me what's it increasing or decreasing by. Not defining variables. Sometimes you have to do this, but sometimes the question does it for you. So sometimes it might use the word like A for area and things like that. You need to make sure you're showing your workings. That's for your communication marks, okay? Don't be spending too much time on the first section because that's only usually worth about 10 marks. We need to focus on the second part, which is worth about 20. And this one's probably the most common, trying to get that justification. Okay, this is a little bit of tick list that you could kind of use as you're doing these questions now. So they always either start with a show me, sometimes it's a draw, 1 to 2 marks, and then this is just how the question usually goes. Fill in the table, describe the pattern, predict, general rule, test and verify, usually come up, that should have a little test there as well, and then justify. Okay, this slide is just a bit of support if you need reminding how to find an arithmetic sequence, but I'm just going to go straight ahead and do this first question, and then you've got some questions to try and assess prep yourself. Okay, so if I have a little look at this, we have a pattern to the right, so stage 1, 2 and 3. We have a table, we've got some missing values. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is describe in words the pattern that we see for M. So if we look, that is increased by 5, increased by 5. So for that first one, you can just say, you notice that each stage increases by 5. Predict more values in the table. Well, if we're going to add 5 each time, that's going to be 21, 26, 31. So there it's done. Write down the general rule. Well, this is an arithmetic sequence because the difference doesn't change. So that means my rule here, and I'm going to use their letters, is M equals 5n, because that's the difference. But then if we wrote the 5 times table out here, 5, 10, 15, 20, that is not actually what we've been given. It's this one, so we have to add 1. Then it says test the rule. So when we test, we're going to put in 1 to 4. So test. Okay, put any of them in. Maybe I'm going to just put 2 in. So M equals 5 times 2 plus 1. So 10 plus 1 is 11, and that matches. And you have to write that it matches the value in the table. Okay, then it says verify and justify, and then we have to make sure our communication is done properly. So verify, we're going to put 5 or 6 in, just like we've just done there. I am running out a little bit of space. So verify for this question, I'm going to put n equals 5. So 5 times 5 plus 1, 20 plus 1 is 21. Okay. So for this question, just like with the last one, you have to say that it matches your prediction. Therefore, your answer is verified. Okay, I'm sorry I'm running out of space. Didn't really plan this one well. Therefore, my answer is verified. Okay, that is verified. Right, when it comes to justify then, sometimes the question already lays it out for you, but how am I going to justify that this is the rule for the pattern on the right? Okay, I'm just going to erase this because you've got it in the video, so you can go back because I need some space. Right, okay, so if I look at the shape, I can actually see that I have some squares and I have some triangles. Okay, so I'm going to call T for triangle, and the pattern that I have at the top, you can see that it goes 2 sticks. The next shape, so 1, 2. The next shape is 4. The last shape is 6. Okay, so the nth term for this, it's going up in 2s, so it's 2n, but it actually is the 2 times table. So that's just for the triangles at the top. Okay, now I'm going to look at the squares involved. Okay, so I'm going to use S for squares. So the first one has 4. The second one, if you count, has 7. And then the last one has 10. Okay, so the nth term for this one, you can see it's going up in 3s, so it's 3n. Because it goes 4, 7, 10, we know that we have to add 1 each time. So if I'm going to justify my rule, I know the whole actual pattern is I would add these together and it should get me m. So if I add the 2 sequences at the bottom together, it gives me 5n plus 1. Okay, so that means this matches my rule, therefore it is justified. And that's what we are going to have a little practice of today, okay, justifying. So now on Assess Prep, there's 2 questions to try. There's these two questions here. Justifying for this question might be a little bit trickier, but give it a go. And then there's this one as well, okay? So have a go with this question. Again, justifying, have a little look at maybe finding a sequence for the number of squares added on each time, okay?